Hi there guys, Rob coming at you here from Rob Brett's Fitness and Performance, throwing that tidbit of the day at you. So today what we're going to talk about is type 2 diabetes. A little bit about type 1, not much. We're going to talk mostly about type 2. Sorry this video is a little late. This issue was brought up to me while I was putting together notes for the other one, and I just thought this was a little more important because it hit close to home for me. My friend's son, he's a young teen, was at a doctor's the other week and said to me, hey man, the doctor told me I'm pre-diabetic. What pre-diabetic means is your fasting blood glucose levels are elevated, but not quite at that level of diabetes yet. So you're at risk, you're getting there, all right? You're working towards that and you do not want that. So he asked me how he could prevent it, and I just thought it would make a great video, and I wanted to do a video because then he has something to constantly look back on, and all you guys would have something to come back to, get good tips, get good information, know the good, know the bad, and learn a little bit. I'm not going to get too in-depth about what type 2 diabetes is, because if you're watching this video, you've probably been told you're pre-diabetic, your doctor's probably explained things to you, so I'm just going to do a quick overview. So, the big difference between type 2 and type 1 diabetes is type 1 affects our pancreas, type 2 affects the liver. All right, so the pancreas creates insulin, the liver has the receptors that respond to it. All right, so what happens is in our blood, we typically want to keep a level of around 100 of sugar in our blood, and it's like milliliters per decibel or something like that. Can't exactly recall the measurement, but about 100, anywhere from 80 to 110 it can fluctuate, but the body wants to keep it right about 100. So when we overload our body with sugar, we get up over that 110, our pancreas is then going to create insulin, which is going to pull that sugar out of the blood and take it through the liver to the receptors. So those receptors then lock into the insulin. The insulin comes into the receptors like this is a lock and this is a key. It unlocks the door, thus letting sugar through to the cell so it can be utilized in whatever fashion the body needs to utilize it in. So what happens is if we're constantly over-intaking sugar, intaking too much, that pancreas is constantly working and making insulin and constantly pulling sugar out. It might be fine at first, the receptor is going to respond. What happens is those receptors get sick of being overworked. They get sick of constantly having to respond and working overtime because of a terrible diet. Now, what happens then is those receptors stop receiving the insulin. They change their locks. The key won't fit anymore, or is having trouble fitting. Some are fitting, some aren't. You might be getting some sugar through or not. But what happens is it only gets worse if you keep on taking that sugar. Then eventually you're getting no lock and key. The key isn't fitting in the lock, so you're not letting any sugar through. And that sugar just keeps going up in the blood. So then the pancreas starts pumping more insulin and more insulin. The receptors get less responsive and less responsive. They're not going to get better if they're already being overworked and you're making them work more. And we just keep raising that blood level. So insulin keeps getting produced. Well, the pancreas then starts to get wears out and starts losing the ability to create insulin, which then we can't even pull the sugar out of the blood. It's going to be up there. So the receptors are shutting down. The pancreas is now being overworked, hits almost the same point as those receptors and says, hey, you know what, I'm shutting down. I can't keep creating this insulin. I'm being overworked. So our receptors then become insulin resistant. They're resisting that insulin. They're not letting the sugar through, which leads to hyperglycemia, which means high blood sugar levels. Hypo means low, hyper means high, which is our type 2 diabetes. That's what it is, hyperglycemia. Our pancreas is starting to shut down, being overworked. Receptors aren't wanting to intake all that terrible sugar that you're intaking. And when it comes to the average American, we intake about 60 pounds of sugar a year, excluding fruit drinks. You add fruit drinks in there, you're at 70 to 80 pounds a year. All right, that is a ton. That's like 76 grams a day. The average male should intake the max amount, 38 grams per day. That's the max. You know, that's what's considered, if you're under that, that's considered healthy. 38 grams, which is 9 teaspoons, I think. And the average girl should, at max, intake 25 grams a day, which is like 6 teaspoons. Okay? So that's a great difference. All right? If you intake that much, you're literally cutting in half that amount you're taking a year down to 30 pounds. That's huge. That's a lot of sugar. You got to figure, before we became civilized and had all these snacks, a lot of our sugar came from natural fruits, and things like that, which have a good bit of sugar in them, but aren't overloading us like these sweets do. So that's just giving you a little bit of insight on what type 2 diabetes is. And typically they have to take medications then that acts as insulin to pull it out and get that sugar out of the blood to regulate it. And it's called, I think one's metformin and the other one's like glucophage or something like that. I forget exactly. You don't really need to know that, because again, we're going to talk about avoiding that and not hitting type 2. So that's what we're going to go into next. We're going to go into precursors and symptoms and things like that for the type 2 diabetes. All right, guys, we're going to talk about some symptoms and precursors. You know, maybe you haven't seen a doctor, but you're feeling kind of funky and you want to know if maybe diabetes is where you're heading. So one big thing is, that was a terrible error, wasn't it? Is lack of exercise. This one is big. Most people that develop this do not get enough activity in their lives. They sit a lot. They have a job where they sit a lot. They feel tired all the time because they don't do enough. You know, and you know, it's a funny thing. Most people who are inactive, I've noticed this, most people who are inactive don't feel like they get enough inactive time. They feel like they don't get enough time to sit when they sit too much, which is why they feel that way. They constantly feel tired. They constantly feel crappy. And moving fixes a lot of that. All right, a lot of diseases and stuff can be helped by exercising. So lack of exercise is a big one. Another big one, lack of sleep right here. Lack of sleep, that's huge. Less than 6 hours a night, all right, has been said. And this is why they link it together. Less than 6 hours affects your hormones and your nervous system, which equals a perfect storm for type 2 diabetes. All right? It's just, there's not a lot of scientific evidence on that, but they think that's why. That lack of sleep is affecting the hormones and nervous system so much that it's creating a perfect storm to help with that, especially if you're getting lack of exercise, all right? And then you're staying up late, not sleeping enough. Then you're not exercising because you feel tired. Then you're getting more tired. And then you're intaking tons of sugar. Not good, all right? One good thing to not do before bed, do not intake caffeine or sugar right before bed. It will help you sleep better. Another tip for you, wearing socks to bed helps you fall asleep about 15 minutes faster on average. Just another tidbit. All right, next. And this one is like a hit or miss because there's a lot of things that can involve blurry vision. You know, so this one is one that can or can't be linked to this. If you are having blurry vision, see a doctor because it can, you know, be telling you other things are going on. You know what I mean? I think even heart disease and liver disease are linked to your eyes, you know, glaucoma and things like that. So blurry vision, you know, if your blood sugar is too high, it can impair your eye function, and it can also impair your elasticity of your eye for your focus, so that you can focus on things. You know, our eyes need to be able to, you know, and if that elasticity goes away, you're going to be seeing blurry. Another thing is increased thirst. Some people might say, hey, that sounds weird. Why? Increased thirst because you want to intake more water so the body can flush that glucose, that stored sugar, or that sugar that's in the blood through the blood. It can get it out of there. It's going to use water to do so, which means you're going to go to the bathroom more. All right, so that could be another thing I didn't know up here, going to the bathroom more. All right, and then, you know, just on average, the average person should intake 2.2 liters or a half gallon a day. I suggest a little more than that, especially if you are an active person and you're sweating or you live in hot climates. Intake water. And then the last one is noticeably slower healing wounds. Cuts are slowing or are healing a lot slower, and scrapes because the body's too busy doing other things. It's too busy trying to counter that sugar and stuff, and it can't heal as quickly or as effective as it should. So those are just a couple little symptoms and precursors that could tell you, hey, I might be at risk of type 2 diabetes. So then over here, just a couple little prevention tips before we get into good and bad foods. Prevention, right here, exercise, right? I was talking about that. Exercise, get in. High intensity, low intensity, weights. Any type of exercise is better than none. I don't care if you're doing Zumba. I don't care if you're doing boot camp classes. I don't care if you're doing CrossFit. I don't care if you join the marching band and you're doing that pound class where get out and move, okay? Get out, go for walks, get some type of activity in. Anything is better than nothing, you know? If you play video games, if you're playing Madden and someone scores on you, make yourself do 20 push-ups. If you're watching TV during commercial breaks, do 10 sit-ups, 10 push-ups, things like that. Make yourself active in some type of way. Start moving. Find something you enjoy, not something you hate because you won't stick to it. Try different forms of exercise. Find something that you have fun with. What's awesome is regularly exercising about 5 times a week, 4 to 5 to 6 times a week can reduce your risk of diabetes type 2 by 70%. That is amazing. You understand what I'm saying? Freaking move, all right? You don't like lifting weights? Go to the Booties and Guts class at your local gym. Get something in, please. That is the number one thing I can tell you. You're going to get that blood pumping. You're going to start using that sugar that's in the blood and that glucose for energy instead of trying to pump it to the liver, and the liver can't store it, so then it gets turned to fat, which fat is the last thing the body wants to use as energy. You know what I mean? So once it gets turned to fat, it's going to chill there until there's no stored sugar to use. You know what I mean? You know, so we do not want to do that, you know, and we store sugar in the blood and the liver. So if we constantly have tons of sugar in us, we're not going to burn that fat, you know, so you can see that diabetes leads to higher body fat content. We're going to get to that later. Watch your carb intake, you know, especially simple junk carbs, you know, white breads, pastas, rices, things like that. Watch carb intake. These are huge, big. I even have it circled here. Huge. This is a big one. Carb intake, because carbs are turned directly into sugar. Anything we eat eventually gets broken down into sugar. Everything, pretty much everything, gets broken down into sugar. Carbs get turned directly into sugar for energy. You know, so that's why, you know, especially in today's diets with all these easy accessible breads and foods and processed foods around, it's easy to get very bad carbs, especially simple carbs. You know, simple carbs are, you know, the carbs that are junk and sugars and candies and cereals, not good complex carbohydrates like veggies and things like that. So eat more veggies, all right? So that leads us into our next one. We do want to watch our carb intake, but the carbs we do intake, we want to be from veggies. 7 cups a day, people. 7 cups. I guarantee most of you barely get 2, barely get 3. Shoot for 7 cups, all right? We want those 7 cups, especially because of the potassium. What a lot of people don't realize is we cannot process sugar without potassium to connect the molecules together. All right, so a lot of times when people are even craving sugar, they go and take sugar, they're making the problem worse because they don't have the potassium to process the sugar. So you're actually feeding potassium, but intaking sugar and increasing the problem. Whereas if you would intake a banana or potassium, you're getting a little bit of sugar with that, carbs too, but you're intaking that potassium that's going to help us process that sugar. Now, we want about 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day to help with this and help with sugar and liver function. Average banana, 400 milligrams, all right? Just to put it in perspective, all right? So eat your veggies. Get them. You can get tons of nutrition from veggies. They are so good for you, all right? So that's just some good little tips on prevention. Big ones, eat veggies and move, baby. Freaking move, all right? If you're eating good vegetables and watching your junk food intake, this one is naturally gonna happen, okay? So move, eat your veggies, you'll fill up, you'll feel fuller, you won't want that junk stuff. So next, we're gonna get into good foods and bad foods. All right, guys, so now what we're gonna go into first is the bad foods and things to avoid, the sad face over here, okay? So you're gonna see a lot of these things are related. What I'm gonna tell you is bad. It's gonna be kind of obvious what to do for the good. So just bear with me. I know it's tough to see. I tend to want to give too much information, which is why I think people tend to like me, because I just want to overload you with information, and I really tried to reduce it as much as I could when I was putting notes together for this. I actually ended up with like 8 or 9 pages of notes that I had to reduce to try not to make this video too long. But I want you guys to know as much as possible, and I want to give you great information. So, things to avoid. One of the biggest things are sugary drinks, sodas, lemonade, sweetened iced teas. The average soda has 38 grams of carbohydrates, okay? Of what we call digestible carbohydrates. Fiber is a carbohydrate, but it's digested different and doesn't directly affect, our blood sugar levels and our insulin. So we don't really need to worry about fiber. So a good rule of thumb is if you're looking at something and it has 30 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fiber, you can minus the 10 grams of fiber from the carbs, and it actually has 20 grams of digestible carbs, as we call it. So perspective, one average 12-ounce soda, 38 grams of carbohydrates, exclusively from sugar. No fiber in that. Iced tea, lemonade, right up there with soda. 36 grams of carbs, also exclusively from sugar. So you can see right now, sugary drinks are huge. If you're somebody that downs soda daily, you're probably one of those 60 pounds a year person. Eliminate those sodas. Boom, right there could be 20 pounds a year you're taking off of your sugar intake, getting down to 40, which is a lot closer to what we want. All right, remember, guys, about 38 grams of sugar a day, 150 calories. If you can keep it lower than that, great. Women, 25 grams a day, which is 100 calories, about 100 calories. So just keep that in mind. High fructose corn syrup is in these too, which is very bad for us. It's directly linked to insulin resistance, which again is what happens in our liver. We get resistant to insulin. Our receptors do not want to take it. Also leads to fatty liver, which we don't want. We don't want that fatty liver disease. Next one, going right off the sugar in these drinks, we're going to go down to white breads, pastas, and rice. Refined sugar foods. We do not want them. It's bad. Again, carbohydrates, primary energy source, gets turned directly into sugar. And these ones, white bread, pastas, and rice, are a lot of simple carbohydrates. The carbs we don't want. We want complex, good carbohydrates that has, lots of fibers and there's other good carbs in it, not just sugar carbohydrates. All right? White breads, pastas, and rice have been known to increase our insulin resistance, our belly fat, and increase the sugar in both types, all right, in our blood. So both types it greatly affects. Decreases our fiber, all right? So these, white breads and stuff decrease the amount of fiber that we can absorb, and they also tend to be very low in fiber. Fiber slows down sugar absorption into the blood, helps us to keep from getting overloaded. So fiber is a good thing. We want that, okay? It helps slow that down so that we're not getting overloaded and we can keep that even level of 100. Kicker, even rice-based breads and pastas, no go, okay? No go. All right, next, fruit-filled yogurts. Again, sugars. It's going to be a good bit of carbs in there, primarily from sugar, all right? Now, there is fruit in there, and you're going to say, hey, well, fruit's good for me. Yes, when it's taken correctly and you take the good ones in proper amounts, but when you're adding it into yogurts, it just really yolks up, and then a lot of them tend to be a little more processed as well. So next, we're going to go into a big kicker, and I see a lot of people who drink these, and you're going to turn the video off right after you hear this probably. Flavored coffee drinks. These are literally a liquid dessert, all right? It's literally like, and a lot of people drink them in the morning. You're eating dessert for breakfast. You're instantly loading your blood with sugar and saying, hey, body, I want to kick your ass today. Let's load this blood up and make you work. And we don't want to do that, okay? So, very bad. They are also known to directly increase weight. People who drink them tend to have higher body fats. Dried fruits. Nothing against fruits. But when you dry a fruit, the sugar is more concentrated, all right? Which means you're just getting, just a more concentrated, pure sugar right into the blood. There's not as much to break down. It's literally just sugar. The nutrients is also more concentrated, which wouldn't be bad if the sugar wasn't more concentrated, but they're both more concentrated. Over here, just to put an example, 1 cup of grapes, 27 carbs, 1 gram of that is from fiber. All right, so 26 digestible carbs. 1 cup of raisins, once they're dried out, 115 carbs, 5 from fiber. So 110 grams of digestible carbs. All right? And a lot of it, because this sugar is more concentrated, a lot of that's going to be sugar, okay? Next, here's one. We all love these. I even love these. Just moderate, okay? Moderate. Even with some of these, I'm not going to tell you, hey, now depending on where you're at, where your levels are, if you're diabetic, then get rid of, these if you're already there. If you're pre, 1 soda a week, not going to hurt you, especially if you really clean up your lifestyle and eliminate that and really start watching what you're eating. You can treat yourself then. Right now, you're just doing it too much. You're intaking way too much. You're hurting your body. But we all only live once. We want to live long lives, and we also want to live happy lives and have a happy diet, okay, and happy lifestyle. So I'm not somebody that's a big person on saying, hey, you have to absolutely eliminate this unless your life, is, just being threatened by whatever you're doing, which we're getting there. Being pre-diabetic, you're getting there. But if you start tweaking these and making fixes, and you do great for 2 weeks and then want to have 1 soda, go ahead. You're not diabetic yet. You're pre-diabetic, okay? And if you're getting those sugar levels under control, one of these isn't going to do it. It's the consistency of constantly taking this stuff, okay? Of constantly eating this day in and day out, which is what people do. I always hear people, oh man, I started this great diet, I made it 3 days, but then I just started pigging out. They don't get on that healthy lifestyle. They never build that lifestyle, and they don't moderate the bad. You want to eat good and add in the bad sometimes, not overdo it. Everybody uses life as an excuse and I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, and then, it gets bad. And honestly, what happens is then we start feeding our kids and stuff junk, and we don't want to do that, So what we're talking about down here anyway, I got off subject there, is French fries. All right, anything deep fried, veggie oil, lots of toxic compounds. A medium potato has 37 carbs, 4 fiber, so 33 digestible carbohydrates. But then you throw it and deep fry it, it just gets really bad, especially because of the oil and stuff. Any hydrogenated oils and things like that are bad. Sorry guys, video got cut off right as I was talking about trans fats. You got to watch out for these, but not really. They became outlawed in 2015. Companies had 3 years to get them out of their foods. They were to add shelf life and longevity to foods. I know Oreos back in the day had them, crackers and pretzels. Be aware of them, but they're for the most part not going to be in any foods anymore. Anything that has hydrogenated oils and stuff in it, very bad. Trans fat it was extremely toxic, and once they found that out, they started forcing companies to take it out of stuff. Cool. All right, guys, sorry I had a little camera issue there. That's why you see some lines up here and not lines. So we're going to talk about veggies now. We're going to talk about the good stuff to eat. Just looking at this, it gives you a good idea of what you can eat. You just don't eat that, eat the good stuff. So first we're going to talk about veggies, especially leafy greens. Very low in digestible carbs. Again, digestible carbs is subtracting the fiber from those total carbs. Spinach and kale, awesome and great vitamins, lots of vitamins. Vegetables are known to decrease our fasting blood sugar levels, all right? The sugar level we have in our blood when we're fasting, when we haven't eaten, we're not eating. Broccoli is a great one. It is one of the most nutritious veggies we can get. It is called a super vegetable, a powerhouse of a vegetable, if you will, all because of sulforaphane, okay? I'm not going to get into exactly what it does, but it has been shown to show great decreases in our insulin resistant, and that's what we want. We don't want to be insulin resistant, so it's known to decrease that. Squashes are great winter and summer. Now, winters will be a little higher in digestible carbs. That's fine. Again, you're not going to get a ton of carbs from veggies. I think a cup of broccoli, it's like 27 carbs, which is, like 6 carbohydrates or whatnot. So not a lot. Summers are going to be lower in digestible carbs. Summers have the soft, peely shell. Winters have a harder shell. Acorn, pumpkin, butternut are some example of winters. Zucchini Italian, some examples of summers. Just to give you a little indicator, 1 cup of pumpkin, which is a winter, has 9 digestible carbs. 1 cup of zucchini, 3 digestible carbs. So like a 1-to-3 ratio. Again, if you're not intaking this junk, these carbs aren't going to hurt us. We're going to get good potassiums, vitamins. This stuff hurts us because it's a lot of bad stuff made primarily of sugar. All right, so if you're somebody that likes noodles and you still want to get your noodles in, shirataki noodles and rice is a great option, okay? They are known, it's known to reduce the hunger hormone. Man, I always mess this one up. I'm probably going to say this wrong. Ghrelin or I think it's ghrelin. I think you do pronounce the G with this one. I kind of forget. I'm sorry. I always mess that one up. Again, I apologize. But what you need to know is it's the hunger hormone. All right? So if we decrease that, we don't get hungry as much. We're not going to crave those sugars, or most likely craving that potassium we want that helps us process the sugar. 100 grams of shirataki noodles, 1 gram digestible carbs. Not a lot to turn into sugar there, right? Also known to decrease our blood sugar levels after eating, which is great. If we can decrease them right after eating, awesome. Next, we're going to come up here into nuts. No peanuts, though. They are a legume. We don't want to have some peanuts. They're great in fiber. Don't overdo them. You don't want to go get bags this big and eat a whole bag in a day. You want to go by ounces, okay? So great for fiber. Very high in fiber. And again, fiber is directly related, and I have it written over here somewhere. I thought I did anyway. Right here, slows down sugar absorption in the blood. So fiber is good. We want fiber. It's also shown, nuts are shown to decrease blood sugar levels, inflammation, LDL levels, and even hemoglobin A1C levels. What that is, it's a test that they do that tells you where your blood sugar has been and what it has done over about 90 days, 2 to 3 months. So it shows a decrease in that, usually making your blood sugar levels better. Next, strawberries. Great, love strawberries. One of the most nutritious fruits that we can eat. Great levels of antioxidants. Lowers cholesterol and insulin after a meal, all right? So that's good. We always want to lower, and it's going to lower our bad cholesterol, LDL, bad cholesterol. And then also, 1 cup of strawberries gives you 100% of your daily vitamin C. Always a good thing. Helps with many things and also helps keep us from getting sick. Extra virgin olive oil. great for us, good substitute instead of margarines and butters and things that have hydrogenated oils in. That's one thing I don't have up here, but try to steer clear of those hydrogenated oils, margarine, butters. If you are using a butter, lower vegetable oil content would be great. Use very minimal of it. Line the pan, dump the rest out. You know what I mean? If you throw a big clump in there, get it just enough on the pan, get the rest out. Or opt for your extra virgin olive oil. Great for heart health, all right? Awesome for our heart health. It's also contains a certain type of monounsaturated fat that improves our good triglycerides and our good HDL, okay? Which is our good cholesterol there. So we always want to improve those. That's great. Next, the amazing eggs. I love eggs, baby. Eggs are great for us. They up our HDL, good cholesterol, and lower our LDL. A lot of the nutrients in them in the yolk, but you don't want to overdo the yolk, okay? You want to get them in. Let's say if you're eating 6 eggs, do 3 full eggs, 3 egg whites. All right, usually, a 2-to-1 ratio. If you're doing, 2 full eggs, do an egg white. 3 full eggs, 1 to 2 egg whites, a 2-to-1 or even a 2-to-2 ratio. But you don't want to overdo the eggs. If you're eating 8 eggs, you don't want to eat 8 full eggs. Try to cut that in half, 4 and 4. A lot of the nutrients and good stuff is in the yolk, but we also get a lot of fats out of that. So they can get a bad rap just because people overdo them. Decrease inflammation. They modify and determine the shape and size of our HDL, our bad cholesterol. So they have a lot of control over that. So eggs are great. And then one other thing I just wanted to throw in here for you guys. This is something that I take every day. I throw it on my steak. I throw it on my chicken. Cinnamon. Not only is it a good metabolism booster, helps you feel good, and it has a lot of other good benefits. But just in the case of type 2 diabetes today, cinnamon increases insulin sensitivity, which we want. We want to be a little more sensitive to insulin. We want those responders. We want our receptors to respond to insulin. Lowers our long-term hemoglobin A1C. So when we get those tests done, it's going to lower the levels we see in that. And what's cool with cinnamon is in 90 days, it has showed a double reduction in our hemoglobin A1C. 90 days, 3 months, double reduction. Down 2 times, So that is just incredible what a little bit of cinnamon can do, for your diet. And like I said, I throw it on my meats. You can, throw it in certain drinks. You do want to watch coffee though, even on diabetes. That's something I didn't put on here, but watch your coffee intake because it greatly dehydrates you. And we need water to pump nutrients out, to cycle our sugar. Again, guys, I hope you learned a ton today. I hope you took a lot from this. Especially if you're watching this video, you have certain reasons you're watching it, whether it be for yourself or a family member. Take it all. It's a lot of information, a lot of different things. And keep this video. Save it in your save so you can come back and watch it again and live a fitter, healthier life and a longer life. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I tried to give you everything I could. I had a lot of notes for this. I tried to break it down to what I thought were the most important things that you needed to take home to your daily life. Please feel free to share, throw up a like, please subscribe. Feel free to talk about it, get all your friends watching it. I love bringing these to you guys. I hope you're enjoying them as much as I like bringing them to you. There'll be another one in a couple days because this one was a few days late. I had a lot of notes for this one. I had to, bring it down, condense it for you guys so it wasn't too crazy long of a video. It was pretty long, but good information, so totally worth it. Again, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and as always, stay fit.